grace. It's not because of your righteousness. It's not because of, it's because it's up to God what happens and how things go. It is of God to show us mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all earth. And here again, everything that happened there in Pharaoh's life was so that God can manifest himself, so that God could glorify himself. It goes on, therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? And that kind of comes back to the question we're asking. We will say this. I haven't resisted him. I haven't resisted his will. I'm doing what's right. I'm born again, and I go to church, and I pay my tithes, and I'm a nice person, and I read my Bible, and I say my prayers, and I do all this. That's kind of the question that's being asked there. Listen, why doth he yet find fault then, if I haven't resisted his will, if I've done all this? It's not because he's finding fault. That's just our way of thinking. That's our way of looking at it. But listen what Paul says. Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? And this is the key in that whole scripture that I read you that there. Who art thou that repliest against God? Who do we think we are? That we question why God allows things, why God does things, why I have to go through this, why I have to go through it. Who do we think we are? We need to stop and understand who God is. And that's a big problem. We have forgotten who God is. And I know I say this kind of thing a lot, but we need to get it in our heads and we need to get it in our hearts. He is not what we have made him. He is not what the church portrays him to be today. He is not just somebody I call on to give me stuff. He is not just there to take care of my boo-boos. He is not there at my beck and call for every little whim that I want. And that's what we've tried to make God. He is God. He is the creator. He is the Alpha. He is the Omega. He is everything in between. I cannot describe to you who God is. He is so far above our way of thinking. He is so far above our way of understanding. And yet who do we think we are? And Paul gives the example, does the thing made say to the one who made it, why did you make me like this? That'd be like you going home and getting some Play-Doh and making a little man out of that Play-Doh, and he rises up out of there and says, why did you make me like this? It's the same thing. You are so far above that piece of Play-Doh. In every aspect, in every way, in every manner. As far above that Play-Doh as you are, God is 1,000,000 times further above you.
Right. Amen.
So who do we think we are to question God? God, why did you let this happen? God, why am I going through this? I'm a good person. I haven't resisted your will. Why are you finding fault with me? Why are you picking on me? Why are you punishing me? That's how we are. And Paul just puts it right out there. And this is my words. It's not the way he said it, but this is what he said. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And I've heard the example, and I wish I could come up with an example that really makes it clear, but I can't. And I've heard this one all my Christian life. It'd be like an ant addressing me like that. And that doesn't even come close to describing the difference between me and God. And yet we think that we have the right, and it's within our rights, to rise up and say to God, why are you doing this to me? Why have you made me this way? Why have I got to do that? Why have I got to do that? Why have I got to go through this? Why would you let this happen? That's how it is. He's God.
That's right.
Amen. He'll do what he wants to do. He'll have mercy on whom he'll have mercy. He'll have compassion on whom he'll have compassion. And in all of it, your duty and your responsibility is to worship him.
That's right.
And to praise him. And to trust him. Because as already been said, and probably will be said some more, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord. Believe it or not, it's the truth. It's the truth because God said so. You may not see it at the moment. You may not understand it at the moment. But you have got to believe God. You have got to trust God. And I want to address this, to wrap this up. I want to address this. O man, who art thou that repliest against God? And to address that, I want to go back to the book of Job. Job chapter 1. Now go back to the original question. Why do bad things happen to good people? I already explained to you there ain't no good people. And if you love God, then all things work together for good. But I want to just keep that in our mind because that's asked so often. And using that terminology, Job was a good man. Job chapter 1, verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. Verse 8 of that same chapter. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. So if there was a good man, this is a good man. Even God said to Satan, he's a perfect and an upright man. So if there was a good man, Job was a good man. Now we all know what happened to Job. He went through it.
Yes, he did.
He lost everything, his family, his possessions, his home, his health. He lost everything. Not only did he lose everything, but his friends came around to console him. And you know what they said? This happened to you because you're a dirty, rotten sinner. This happened to you because you did something bad. This happened to you because of this, and this happened to you because of that. Sounds like today.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like today. But go back to the beginning. God said, Job is a perfect and an upright man. There's none else like him. He's that righteous. And when all these things begin to happen, Job is just like us. I already touched on his friends are just like us. But Job is like us too. You can read through and Job is questioning a lot of stuff. And Job is asking a lot of questions. I'm not going to go through everything that happened and everything his friends said. I want to jump over to chapter 29 of Job. Now, we today, us Christians today, as I've already said, and you already know, when bad things start happening, when we're going through stuff, when troubles and trials come and all this, we begin to recount why they shouldn't happen. Because of how good we are. And this is what Job did in chapter 29. We'll break into verse 7. This is Job. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged men arose and stood up. The princes refrained talking and laid their hand on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me, and when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me. Because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and to him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind. I was feet to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I break the jaws of the wicked and pluck the spoil of the thief. Look, Job's there telling God how good he is. I did all this stuff, God. What right have you got to do all this to me? Why is this happening to me? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why did you put... Job is rehearsing, and I didn't read it all. You can go through and read these next couple chapters. Job goes on and on and on, telling God how good he is. Listen, you may not go tell God, but you're telling yourself when things happen how good you are and why all this stuff shouldn't happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, if there was ever somebody who was good, it was Job. I don't read in the Bible where God said to Satan about anybody else, consider this one. He's a perfect and an upright man. There ain't nobody else like him. And yet all this stuff happened to him. And when all this stuff happened to him, Job began to say, look, God, I took care of the poor. I took care of the widow. I did this. I did that. This is how good I am. I was a father to the poor. I took care of things. I did blah, 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 just like we do. So because I did all these good things, because I was so righteous and so holy, nothing bad should happen to me. That's what Job did. And that's what we do. And so he's saying, and you can read the rest of that, he said, he's bragging on himself, saying how good he was, and because he was so good and so righteous and so holy that nothing bad should happen to him. Then you jump down to chapter 30, verse 1. But now, they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose father's eye would have disdained to have sat with the dogs of my flock. I was this good, I did all these things, but now. And go to verse 8 in that chapter. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth, and now I am their song, I am their byword. They abhor me, they flee from me, and spare not to spit in my face. Because he hath loosed my cord and afflicted me, they have also let loose the bridle before me. Upon my right hand rise the youth. They push away my feet, and they raise up against me the ways of their destruction. They mar my path. They set forward my calamity. They had no helper. They came upon me as a wide breaking in of waters. In the desolation they rolled themselves upon me. Listen, I know I keep stopping, but I want to keep putting this all back together. Job was an upright man. God said so. Right in the face of Satan, God said so. Then all these things happened to Job. Then Job starts to begin to question God and tell God just how good he was and why things shouldn't happen to him. And now he's saying, I was this good, but look at all this stuff that's happened to me. And verse 15, terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my soul as the wind, and my welfare passes away as a cloud. And now my soul is poured out upon me. The days of affliction have taken hold of me. My bones are pierced in me in the night season, and my sinews take no rest. By the great force of my disease is my garment changed. It bindeth me about as the collar of my coat. He hath cast me into the mire, and I became like dust and ashes. I cry unto thee, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up, and thou regardest me not. Listen, he's talking to God. God, I'm praying, and you ain't hearing me. You ain't fixing it. You ain't taking care of me. You should take care of me because I'm a really good person, and I did all these good things. And now look what's happening to me. And that's what we do. Hey, he goes on. Thou art become cruel to me. With the strong hand thou opposest thyself against me. Thou lift me up to the wind. Thou causest me to ride upon it, dissolve my substance. I know that thou wilt bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all living. Howbeit he will not stretch out his hand to the grave, though they cry in his destruction. Listen, this is Job talking to God. And don't think we ain't like that, because those thoughts that go through your head are exactly the thoughts that went through Job's head. I was good. I paid my tithes. I went to church. I do nice things. I read my Bible. I try my best to live right. And now, God, look what you did to me. And now when I come to you and ask you to fix it, you ain't fixing it either. You lifted up your hand against me. You're afflicting me. You're doing this to me. You're doing that to me. And that's what we do. When we say, why would God do this? That's exactly what we're doing. Who did this? Satan did this. God didn't do this. The problems that you have, I've already told you why you have them. Sin. That's what brought the tribulation into the world, that Jesus said, but God didn't do it to you.
Right.
Your forefathers did it to you. Adam and Eve did it to you. They brought sin in. And because of sin, now we have problems. We have troubles. We have trials. We have tribulation. And every time these things come upon us, we begin to act like Job and say, well, I'm too good for this to happen to me. God, you shouldn't do this to me. You shouldn't allow this stuff to happen to me. And when it does, and then we begin to pray, God, take it away from me. And if he doesn't snap his fingers and make everything go away, we do just like Job. You don't even hear me. You won't take care of me. You don't love me anymore. Whatever it is that we say. And we may not say it in the words that I'm using, but we think these things. And this is exactly. And listen, in verse 26. When I looked for good, then evil came unto me. And when I waited for the light, there came darkness. My bowels boiled and rested not. The days of affliction prevented me. I went mourning without the sun. I stood up and I cried in the congregation. I'm a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. My harp also is turned to mourning, and my organ into the voice of them that weep. This stuff happened to Job. When this stuff began to happen to Job, he began to tell God, it shouldn't happen to me because I'm better than that. Because I'm good and I'm righteous and I'm holy, and here's a list of all the good things I've done, so this shouldn't happen to me. But you afflicted me, and now I'm asking you to take it away, and you ain't even going to take it away. You don't hear me anymore. You don't love me anymore. Why are you letting all this stuff happen to me? That's what Job said in verse 20. I cry unto thee, and thou dost not hear me. I stand up, and thou regardest me not. Thou art become cruel to me. That's exactly what we do to God. Maybe you ain't using the same words Job used, but that's what we do to God. When we don't trust him, when we don't believe him, when we don't understand. God didn't do this to Job. He allowed it to happen, but God did not do it. Satan did it. God is not doing that stuff to you. Sin did it. Or the seed you planted came to fruition. Or because it happens, you're just getting rained on right now. But God didn't do it. But we blame God. And then when we blame God and complain about it, and then we want to, oh God, fix it. That's what we do. And when he don't fix it, then we do just like Job. Listen, you don't even hear me. You don't even care about me. You don't even love me. How many of us have done those kind of things? That's exactly what Job did. Listen in verse 30, in chapter 31, verse 3. Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? Here's what Job says. Bad things should happen to bad people. That's what he said. Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity. Job said, all this stuff should happen to them, not me. But here's what he said. And I'm going to kind of put it in my words. Doth not he see my ways and count? Don't God see what I am? Don't he see my way? I'm a good person. This stuff should happen to bad people. I'm a good person. Don't God see that? That's what Job's saying. If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hastened to deceit, then let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step hath turned out of the way, and my heart walked after mine eyes, and if any plot hath cleaved to mine hand, then let me sow and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted out. If my heart have been deceived by a woman, if I have laid out weight at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind it to another, and let others bow down. For this is an heinous crime, yea, it is iniquity to be punished by the judges. For it is the fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase. Listen to what he's saying. If I did this, or if I did that, or if I did this, or if I did that, then it'd be all right for this stuff to happen to me. But I didn't do that, so this stuff shouldn't happen to me. God shouldn't do this to me because I didn't do all those bad things. And again, God didn't do it to him. And it has nothing to do with whether he did bad things or didn't do bad things. It rains on the just and the unjust. In the world you will have tribulation. But Job did just like we do. You can go through the whole chapter 31. Look at these scriptures. 16, if I. 19, if I have. 21, if I have. 24, if I have. 25, if I. 26, if I. 29, if I. 33, if I. Job keeps saying, if I would have did this, or I would have did that, or I would have did this, or I would have did that, then God, it's okay for you to do this. And we do that. But because I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I've been good, and I've been righteous, and I've been holy, and I've been upright, this should not happen to me. That's what Job is doing. Chapter 31, verse 35. Oh, that one would hear me. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary have written a book. Surely I would take it upon my shoulder and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him the number of my steps, and as a prince would I go near unto him. This is Job, again, talking about God. Listen to what he said. Oh, that one would hear me. Behold, that my desire is that the Almighty would answer me. My desire is that God would answer me. listen to verse 37, I would declare unto him, to God, the number of my steps. If God would listen to me,